Hey, sister.
Hey, sister.
It's just us this week.
I know. It's just us.
It's going to be fun. Now, last week, we waxed on and waxed off with the Karate Kid. And it wasn't just us. We had a special guest, Marcus. I mean, how lucky were we to have him? He's like a Karate Kid super fan and also a martial arts expert.
I know. Sweet Eric, my husband, really hooked us up with that connection. And like, not just the fact that he's a martial arts expert, which is amazing, but he also, like you said, he's very versed in this movie. And so he had a lot of interesting things to add to the story. So yes, it was really cool.
Yes, it was very much an add value. But this week, we're leaving the dojo and we're making some detours and finding some dead ends.
That's right. We're loading up the family truckster and heading cross country with the Griswolds in National Lampoon's Vacation. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Missy. And this is Real Sisters Rewind.
Join us as we go back to the 80s.
Welcome back to Real Sisters Rewind, back to the 80s, the podcast for people who love movies and wish they were as good now as they were back then. I'm Missy.
And I'm Amanda. If you're loving the podcast, we'd be so grateful if you could give us a 5-star rating and leave a review. It helps other 80s movie lovers find us. And we're sending out Real Sister stickers for every 5-star review. Just take a screenshot, email it to hello@realsistersrewind.com, and we'll pop one in the mail for you.
We're sweet like that. And you're sweet for giving us a review. Look, today we are hitting the road with Clark, Ellen, and the kids for what might be the most chaotic and hysterical family road trip ever to be on the big screen.
So pack your bags, real fans. It's time to drive right back into 1983.
Well, National Lampoon's Vacation hit theaters on July 29th, 1983. I had literally just turned 15 years old. And Amanda, how old were you?
I was 6, but it's funny because when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's like right at your birthday.
It is, but that was the birthday that I got my driver's license, and I got it on my birthday, July 28th.
Oh, yeah. So, it's not like kids these days where you're like, I don't know. I'm not going to do it yet. You were there, girl.
You know, we always around this time talk about if we saw it in the theaters. I don't remember seeing it in the theaters. However, I might have gone to the movie that weekend, but maybe to see something else just so I could cruise around the mall and drive and take my friends out somewhere.
I was going to ask you, speaking of taking your friends out, did you get the Coug when you turned 15, or did you have to wait a little bit?
The Coug. Well, for our listeners, that was a Mercury Cougar. And I actually had it a few weeks before I turned 15. And by the way, it was 15 then, just to be clear. And
the silver, wasn't it?
It was silver, yes. And Daddy had a friend who owned the Mercury dealership, and I guess it came in, and Dad was like, we'll take that one. And so it was sitting at the house before I turned 15. I think I got to drive it a few times with my permit and Mom or Dad in the car.
It was, by the way, the Lincoln Mercury dealership.
That's right.
Together. Yeah. So that was probably a very exciting weekend for you.
Yes.
Very, very cool. I just have to say one more thing to you and the listeners, because I feel like this is going to happen, because every time I say it and every time you say it, my brain goes National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Did I say Christmas Vacation?
No, but
I might have said it. But yeah,
no. My brain does.
Too. Yes.
I almost said it, and then I heard you, and my brain was going along with you, and I was like, oh gosh. So I'm just going to apologize now because it may come out.
Let's try hard to not say Christmas Vacation.
Well, Missy, I want to share, of course, some things going on in pop culture when the movie was released. But since we brought some special guests on to join us, I say we just kind of skim the surface about this time period so we can get to our guests. What do you think?
I think that sounds great. Perfect plan.
Okay, great. So of course, there's some things that we always want to make sure we stamp for our listeners. Our number one song on the American Top 40 week of July 30th, 1983, Every Breath You Take by The Police. And I'm going to say, I feel like this has been one we've talked about before in the list of popular songs, which makes sense. It is one of my all-time favorite 80s songs.
Really?
I love it. But what's weird is I don't know if I love it because it just feels nostalgic and takes me back, because it's kind of a weird song, like the lyrics of it.
Yeah.
But I love it so much.
Really? Not me so much.
Really?
Yeah. That's that whole genre we've talked about before, kind of like The Police and Duran Duran. And like, that's just it. I was more into maybe soul artist of the time. I don't know. But
I'll be watching.
That wasn't that wasn't my jam. But I'll tell you what was my jam. Dynasty, which of course we've talked about before. Now that summer it was Dallas, of course, who remained that top rated show. It was in reruns, but Dynasty was so popular around that time, that summer, and also the A-Team.
I loved the A-Team.
I almost just said, though, what you talking about, but that's not
Me too, but that's not it. What did they used to say on the A-Team? He had like a saying like that.
It's something like, I'm gonna do something to you. What did he say? I'm going to see if I can look it up.
When we say he, we mean Mr. T.
Right, Mr. T. You knew exactly who I was talking about.
The guy with the mohawk. He's the only one I remember from the whole show, but it was a team of people. He's the only one I remember. Mr. T.
Yeah. He had
the gold.
Yeah, rings. He had a grill and rings and.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember what he said, but we got to find out.
I pity the fool. That was it.
That was it.
I pity the fool.
That's it. Yes. That's it. Well, we always want to highlight Two People magazine, and I don't know quite what to say about this cover. I just have to. I definitely, from time to time, I will share the covers on our socials when they're extra special. This one's going to have to be shared just because it's so hard to describe. First of all, John Travolta's on the cover, and he looks, to me, it looks like, because I know the John Travolta of today, but it looks like his head is superimposed on that body to me.
Yeah, it does.
Because I can't be John Travolta.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Yeah, but it says 2 for Travolta, his Staying Alive lovers, flash dance to stardom.
I saw that movie in theaters, the Staying Alive. It was great.
These people on this cover are, I mean, the band, what do you call those things around your head that y'all used to?
I mean, you called them headbands, but they're not like what you think of headbands.
It's not like
today.
A hairband. It's like around your forehead.
Headband. I tried out for cheerleader in the 8th grade with one of those around my head.
You did not.
I did.
No, you didn't.
I absolutely did. It was white with red, blue, and gold kind of braided through it.
But y'all were black and gold. Why would you have done red and blue?
Because at the time you didn't wear your school colors, you wore a cute outfit. And I had red shorts with this navy and white sailor top and my headband.
a sailor top.
Oh, yes, I did.
Stop.
Yes, I did. One
Well,
thing,
wait.
go ahead.
Did it, this is the thing about those though in the 80s. Did it sit below, underneath your bangs? Because I know you had bangs.
Oh, I had bangs and it goes underneath your bangs. So you get a glimpse of it in the middle of your
Oh.
forehead. But if you turn to the right or left, you get a good view of the
Did it
gold
protect you
braiding.
from sweating too
Probably,
much?
yeah, because
Yeah. Such a
I was such a
sweater.
sweater. One thing I noticed when I saw the cover of People magazine is that they had on like a small cover or a small headline 3D movies like Jaws hook Hollywood. Which is funny because now you think of 3D movies as just something that they put out from time to time. But it was a big deal when 3D movies first came out and you
Was
got your
Jaws
glasses.
3D?
They brought Jaws back to the theater as a
Oh,
3D version, which that's never
okay.
good if you don't film it with 3D equipment. Like it's hard to watch and cheesy, but people flocked to go see it because Jaws had been such a big hit and it came back 3D.
Can I ask you one more question about this cover? I know I am just real perplexed by it. Um, I don't know what this cover is it about staying alive or Flashdance or what? And why does that one girl look like she's in a horror film? It looks like she has like blood, like I don't understand what this is.
It's just their costumes. I don't remember why they did it in the movie. I guess they needed to look kind of devilish for a
No,
dance
but what
number.
movie is it? Is that's what I'm
Staying
saying.
alive.
Oh,
Staying
okay.
alive. Yeah, it was like the sequel to Saturday Night Live.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
no, Saturday Night Fever,
Yeah,
not
Saturday Night
Saturday.
Fever. Yeah, right. Good catch, sister.
Okay, because I was thinking I thought that was the 70s. Okay, I am so much more clear now.
All right, so we jumped into People magazine, sister. We covered the big three, the movies, the magazine, and
The
the
no, the
song.
TV, the song, and the
Right,
people.
right.
Yes.
So let's go into talk about the movie facts.
Okay, I love this. I know we know this already, but every time I see it, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. The screenplay was written by John Hughes,
Yep.
and he based the story on his own family's road trip to Disneyland in 1958, which he fictionalized in his short story Vacation 58. The movie was directed by Harold, I think Ramis.
Yeah.
I believe is how you say that. So, and John Hughes, he did Christmas Vacation too, right? We talked about that. I think so. I think so.
I'm not
I'll
sure,
correct
but I
myself if
will
I'm wrong.
tell you, or the real fans will let you know. But I will tell you that as I was watching this with my husband, we did the rewatch, Chris and I did, and I saw again that it was in Chicago. And I was like, is this a John Hughes movie? And Chris was like, I don't think so because I think of John Hughes more in the genre of like the Pretty in Pink and all
Yeah,
of
like
that.
teen
Right,
romance.
teen romance, but sure enough it was. I was excited to see that. So we know who wrote it and who directed it, but it had some stars that played roles in the movie. Of course, the great Chevy Chase as Clark Griswold and Beverly D'Angelo as Ellen Griswold. And then you had the random Griswold kids because they're different in every movie. But
Which I
I
love.
know it's so great. So you had Anthony Michael Hall, who was playing Rusty in this movie. A little fun fact when they were filming, sister, he experienced a growth spurt. And so throughout the filming, and if you didn't notice, you'll have to go back and watch it. There were continuity issues in his character's height.
Oh, that is funny. I didn't notice, but now that you're saying, I'm kind of like, he did look a little different throughout the movie.
Yeah,
That's so,
he did. And he even with his weight, to me, he
yeah,
looked different. And it was probably because he would have a growth
yeah.
spurt and he would look skinnier.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, Audrey this time was played by Dana Barron. Aunt Edna, great old Aunt Edna, was played by Imogene Coca, who she is great. She's been in other things. She's always funny. And then Cousin Eddie,
Oh,
never
man.
changes. Randy Quaid, Christy Brinkley. I mean, so many great
So
stars.
many
She's
great
that girl
stars.
in the red Ferrari. You also had John Candy. You had Eddie Bracken. You had Brian Dole Murphy, Jane Krakowski, who
yes.
was in Ally McBeal all those years later. And Eugene Levy was the car salesman, and he's so popular now for Schitt's Creek.
Yes, and Jane was also in 30 Rock.
Oh, that's
Huge
right.
role in 30
That's
Rock.
right.
I do have to just say really quick, I thought Dana Barron was precious. She is a cute little teenage girl. I thought she was so good.
She's
cute
good.
playing
She is
Audrey.
cute.
I love her. She's really adorable. All right, so what was the rating? It was rated R, which makes sense.
Yes.
By the Motion Picture Association for language, sexual content, and brief nudity. And the runtime was 1 hour and 38 minutes.
That's our sweet spot.
That is nice. And it felt good. But let me tell you a little bit about the box office. So the budget was about $15 million. And on opening weekend, they made $8 million. And then
wonder if they were like, oh, this is going to be a flop. We didn't make our money back on opening weekend. But I don't think it was that big of a deal.
I was going to say, I don't think they did that then.
They had the long game.
Well, you know what I wonder too, if it was like that, because movies ran a lot longer then. Like now your film comes to the theater and it's not there for very long.
That's true.
So like you got to make your money back.
They've got to get it in distribution.
It was on. Like it was on for a while.
Yeah. What did it ultimately make? Do you know?
Worldwide, 61 million. Almost, 61 million.
Well, the film didn't receive any major awards, but it was considered ultimately to be a commercial success. And we know what it ultimately became, a cult classic. It actually, in the year 2000, it was voted as the 46th greatest comedy of all time. And I would absolutely agree. It's a classic. It's one I love. And it just is always makes me laugh.
Me too. And it's interesting because I noticed so many parallels to Christmas Vacation.
Yes, we'll talk about that some as we go through the scene by scene. Okay, Amanda. Well, as you said, we skimmed the surface, but we've got something special for our listeners.
Yes, we had to take a little detour on this road trip episode and bring in two very special guests that are near and dear to our hearts who know all about chaotic family vacations, our cousins, Tracy and Hal. Okay, y'all, we had to take a little detour on this road trip episode and bring in two very special guests who know all about chaotic family vacations, our cousins, Tracy and Hal.
That's right. Our dads owned Max Construction Company together, which meant while our dads were holding down the fort during the busy summer season of construction projects, our moms packed us up and we headed out on summer vacation.
That's right. So who better to join us for our vacation episode than the people who lived through vacations with us? Two of our favorite people in the world, our cousins, Tracy Burnham and Hal McMahon.
Woohoo! Welcome, you two. We are so glad y'all are here.
We're glad to be here.
I'm excited to be here. Yeah. Well, look. We have to start by briefly talking about our first vacation together, right? Now, Amanda, you weren't born yet, but I was praying and believing that God was going to send me a baby sister. But
thank goodness.
Tracy and Hal, I would say that this first vacation, you know which one I'm talking about, that it was as close to a Griswold style family vacation as any that we took together. Yes.
In the station wagon.
And the yellow
The
station wagon.
yellow station
With the
wagon.
wooden panels on the side.
I mean, it really was truly Griswold style, wasn't it?
It was.
Pack
And
up,
very
pack
back.
a sandwich, huh?
In the very back with
In
no
the very
seatbelts.
back, facing backwards.
Huh?
Yes.
We were living high.
We were
And-
living high.
Missy was our entertainment, singing all the way.
Well, probably Delta Dawn,
Yes.
something like that.
What's that flower you have on?
That's right. So, what do you guys remember about it? First of all, do you know we went somewhere in the like panhandle of Florida, right?
We went to Panama City.
We went to Panama City. Obviously.
Ship.
Yes, looking for the treasure ship.
Oh, okay. So that was the big draw for us to go there, was a treasure ship.
Yes. And Tracy's going to tell you all about the treasure ship.
No, it's just this huge ship with souvenirs, and didn't they have rides?
Yes. I think
I
it's actually
remembered
still there
something
today.
about rides. Like
Yeah.
I remembered it being like a very low grade, like Disney World type
Yes,
experience.
very low.
More like the Laurel Fair.
Yeah.
And so I think I was about 5 or 6. Hal, do you know how old you were? And Tracy, I mean, I'm guessing if I was 5 or 6, Tracy was
10 or
9 or
11,
10. Yeah.
Probably 12 or 13.
Okay. And so what's something that you remember about it, Hal?
Wait, before they share that, I have a question. And y'all may have said this and I missed it. Who owned the station wagon?
Your mom,
Okay.
right? Wasn't it?
Yeah, I think
Your mom
I
or
think
your
it was
dad?
Daddy's. I think it
But I
was
think
Daddy's
one of the
yellow.
boys drove the station wagon.
He always liked the strangest cars. Like he had that station
El
wagon, and then he
Camino.
drove the El Camino
Camino.
for years. We couldn't have gone on vacation in an El Camino because it was just a bench seat.
No, we might could have. We were pretty creative people back in the day.
Yeah.
We could have put
in
a
the-
camper on the back and put
That's
a
right.
mattress in it.
I do have one more question. In the station wagon, because this is definitely a part of that time period, was this the kind where the seats in the back faced each other?
Yes.
Yeah, we were just talking about
Okay.
that when you had to step out. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So, Hal, what is something that you remember about it?
This is not really about the trip, but I remember your mom, who was, I think at the time, 4'2", was driving the station wagon, and I was behind her, and I kept putting my feet on the back of the seat. I just remember getting in trouble. I'm thinking, oh, I didn't know that when I touched the seat, it was slinging her forward. So that she was, kind of jogging around the road as I would put my foot in her back.
That is funny.
That is I believe it because that my whole life has been something that has annoyed her. Like I can just imagine her getting aggravated about that.
But didn't she turn out great?
So, Tracy, do you remember anything particular about that first Griswold vacation?
Honestly, I just remember traveling, and the car was like made a big impression on me. And you singing, like you truly were entertaining us, like the whole time. Like you would not stop.
like you would not hush.
Yeah, you would not hush, and we were just like, you got to stop singing.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry in advance for that. I do have memories of cousins telling me at different times growing up, like to stop singing, to hush.
Yeah.
I really do. You were one of them, but I mean, I had a lot of cousins that would tell me to hush singing. And look, we lived in the country. I mean, that's who we hung out with was our cousins at the time, right?
And life was so much better at the time,
It
Missy.
was just so good and so easy.
Well, also y'all were lucky. I mean, I say y'all, I was just so much younger, so I kind of missed the boat on this a little bit, but you all lived out there together. Like it wasn't like y'all all lived in different, parts of the world. And so it makes sense that that's who, you would hang out with and because your parents would get together and stuff like that. So you were lucky to have that.
We were very lucky.
And I think we're lucky to have that memory of that vacation. Amanda, we wished you had been there, but our vacations changed a bit after that, didn't they? Our dads worked a few more summer projects and Would you say, Amanda, that you never experienced one of those Griswold type vacations?
No, that's why I was so curious about the station wagon, because I don't remember us ever going on a trip that we went in the car.
Oh, no.
So
No, baby,
that's
when
why I
you
was like,
came along, we were in the Bird, the big airplane Bird. We arrived.
Yes.
yeah.
That's when we went to the three vacations that come to mind. And then Tracy and Hal were in college, and I think we trickled off on the big vacations. But we went to Hawaii.
And I was still in high school in Hawaii.
You were a senior. We did a cruise, and we went to the Virgin Islands because we liked the Virgin Islands so much the summer before when we were on the cruise. But Tracy, you have a very famous line from that Hawaii trip. When we got on the plane, it was your first plane ride.
My first flight.
Right. Hal, was it your first flight?
No, it was not my first. I'd actually been to Europe with the high school.
Oh, yeah. Our preppy
fancy.
cousin. Yep.
Yeah.
He was our
Fancy.
fancy cousin.
That's right.
But it wasn't my first flight, and it probably was Amanda's, but she was too young to really talk about it. It may not have been Amanda. We had been, I think, to New Mexico.
To New Mexico.
But Tracy, you have a very famous line. What did you say as we boarded the plane on our way to Hawaii? Because, sister, we weren't going to Panama City Beach.
No. I said a prayer and I said, Dear Lord, if we have to crash, please let it be on the way back so I can experience Hawaii.
That is exactly right.
And she still says that today when we travel.
Oh, really?
Let me
It's
get
so
on. Let
funny.
me have the trip.
I tell people that story so often, especially when I'm going somewhere with people. And so I guess subconsciously, Tracy, I kind of pray that prayer too now. Just let it be on the way back. Although plane wrecks are not a laughing matter, but it was definitely it was fun in the moment to think, Lord, don't let anything happen to us unless it's on our way back. We wanted to experience that. So, Amanda, you were the baby that was there with us, 8 years younger than me. So that means you were 12 years younger than Tracy, and even more than that than Hal.
Yes, I was a baby. And I do remember small things like tidbits about going to Hawaii. I was only 4, but I feel like those are some of my first memories. I think I remember us going to the airport I think we flew out of Jackson.
We did fly out of Jackson.
And I just remember like leaving, it was dark outside. And
because it was early in the morning, I think.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
Yeah, it
wasn't
was.
it early, Tracy and Hal?
Yes.
Yeah. And had we come over to Jackson the night before and spent the night in a hotel, or did we get up early and drive up from Hattiesburg?
We spent the night in a hotel in Jackson.
Oh, maybe I don't remember then. Maybe that was a different one where we left early in the morning. I don't know, but I do remember Hawaii.
And we dressed the part. I mean, we had all seen the Brady Bunch and the episodes to Hawaii, and by golly, we were going to Hawaii.
Oh, yeah. Y'all had the outfits.
Fresh lays when we landed. They put fresh lays on us.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We did the luau.
Yes. And you know what I love so much about that trip? And Chris and I actually went last summer. It was my first time to go back since that trip. I had such fun memories of that luau and that whole trip because Hal had hooked us up with this fancy tour company. Again, our fancy cousin. And we were on a talk tour. So we were 2 full weeks in Hawaii. Cool. And it was... put it this way, it wasn't the yellow station wagon, right? Like it was really nice.
Wait,
what, Tracy?
I said we had come a long way.
We had, yeah.
I remember that we were all standing there and they said limos would pick us up, but I thought it would be a bus. But this big black limousine actually pulled up and picked us up, and we really thought we had arrived then. Well, I guess we had arrived.
Yeah, we were country come to town. And I remember everywhere we would travel, you guys would laugh and make fun of me, like making friends everywhere I went. And you would call me Miss Hospitality. And because that was a 2-week trip and we were with these people for 2 weeks, I can remember when that trip came to an end, like sobbing, telling these
Stop.
people
I knew you were going
goodbye.
to say that. I knew.
Right? Do y'all remember
Yes,
that?
yes, we met a great couple from Texas. Remember the
They're
lady?
from Texas. She always had a big Lulu, moo on.
Yes.
And we ate so much. Remember, she said.
She had to wear a moo because she could keep eating.
That is so funny. I remember the little boy on the bus named Danny, and
I
he
was
had
just
the
about to
little
say-
monkey.
I was just about to
remember
say,
that.
is that the trip where I met that little boy Danny with the monkey?
Yes. And our tour guide was Rick. And Rick, he had like a perm in his hair. It was like a bobbed perm. And there were two girls who were probably like mid-30s who were really kind of hip. And we hung out with them some, but I don't remember their names. But they weren't the moo wearing memo that we met.
Now remember that we went to that private home.
Yes.
That's
one of the best memories. That was the luau.
Yeah,
That's right. That was the luau. That's
It
right.
was the luau.
Oh, it was at somebody's house?
Yes, the private home.
It was neat.
It was neat. And when I did the luau last summer, not the same experience. It was, at the fancy hotel. It just didn't have the warmth and the fun that ours had. But we did on that trip, we went to every island and saw some incredible things. But the most incredible thing that I saw the entire time we were there wasn't from a Hawaiian landmark, etc. Hal, it was actually you.
I bet it was my lips.
It was your lips. Tell
remember
our
this.
listeners the story of what happened.
So funny.
I had no idea I was allergic to pineapple. And of course, there's pineapple everywhere.
But we were on Molokai.
Yeah. But I had been eating pineapple since we landed, fresh pineapple and everything.
Even
So
in your iced tea, remember they would put pineapple in your iced tea.
Whatever you drank, it was in there. So I wake up and I remember knocking on my mom, Tracy, when the next room I knocked on the door. And Mom saw all she could see was that lip.
Like we peeked through the peephole.
So they were going to they had to take me, they were going to fly me back to the main island, but they found a little hospital.
Yes.
That was, so they had to turn the lights on when we got to the hospital and wake the doctor up. But anyway, long story short, it was just a reaction to the pineapple. So.
And I have never seen anything like that before or since. Like,
neither have I. I mean, it was hanging below my chin.
Your lips were huge. I didn't know that was possible.
I didn't either.
Because
he kind of snuck out of his room and went to the bar, maybe, and got some drinks with pineapple in them.
Well, I probably did do that too. I did do that too.
But
oh my goodness.
So here's the thing. After all of the gazillion pictures we found, Missy, from that Hawaii trip, how do we not have a picture of Hal's lips?
Because Hal was the photographer. And look, at that point, we were like, we've got to get this guy to the hospital.
Yeah, we weren't like nowadays where you have to take a picture.
Pull out my phone, because I promise you, if I had my phone at that moment, I would have tripped over myself to take a picture of you.
Me too.
And you would put it on social media.
You're right, I would have. Okay, so any other last memory that anyone has about Hawaii, and we'll kind of jump into the other two vacations.
I think you covered the highlights. Other than it was absolutely beautiful. Just one of the best trips I've ever had. To this day, one of the best trips I've ever been on.
I agree. Me too. I feel so blessed by the opportunities we had and the experiences we had and the memories we made together. It was really great. And so the next year, and I actually turned 13 years old in Hawaii. It seemed like
You got a ring
in Hawaii. Do you still have the ring?
I do. I have it somewhere. Yeah, it was a ruby ring, kind of shaped like a flower with the diamond in the middle. So the next summer, around my birthday again, we went on a cruise. The two mamas and the 4 kids. And for a 13-year-old about to turn 14, this was quite a trip. From the moment we arrived until the moment we got off, and even beyond, there were stories to tell about that.
And we were obsessed with the Love Boat. Remember?
Yes.
The Love Boat. So we thought it was going to be just like the Love Boat.
The Love Boat, exactly, which is a great. I
And
mean,
it
that
kinda
goes.
was.
It kind of goes.
Tracy made it go that way. I miss it.
It was kind of a love boat. Who wants to start off talking about this trip?
Well, I have some because before we even got on the boat, I already knew there was a talent show and I was going to be Annie because
that's
talk about
right.
being obsessed with I was obsessed with Annie. Obsessed. So we left out of New Orleans, and I remember when we got to New Orleans, we went down somewhere, I guess,
Canal
in the
Street.
French,
It was on
in the
Canal.
French Quarter,
It was on
Wig shop.
Canal.
and got me an Annie wig.
A sure enough red permed wig.
Annie wig. Yep.
You look just like Annie.
I know.
Yeah.
I had the outfit. I was set. I was obsessed.
You were. And everybody on the cruise loved you. And one thing we didn't say about Amanda from the Hawaii trip, and this continued through all three of the trips, she was such a trooper, wasn't she, y'all? We would
cried. She never complained.
I know it. She
one
was
more
an
thing about
angel.
Hawaii. We went to a really nice dinner show. I think maybe it was Tom Jones entertained us. I don't know. But it was this wild thing going on. And we looked over there and everybody, we're all getting into the concert and the music. Look over and Amanda has put her hands on the table and laid a little head down and fell asleep.
Yeah,
Never
like a little
complained.
princess. Yeah. And she did that at most of our meals. She
Yeah.
would just push her plate back and she would go to sleep. And we did get a babysitter for you sometimes in some of those hotels.
But not a lot.
No,
but
you went with us to most.
I do remember thinking like if I'm good, they'll let me come with them. So
and you are.
I'm not gonna act up. But can you imagine, like my kids when they were that age would not go that way.
I don't even get on the boat with me, my grandkids on it.
All right. So we get on the boat. My mom has dealt with seasickness a lot. I don't know about your mom if she had ever experienced it before. But when we get on that cruise ship, the two matriarchs are
taken to the bed.
They are sick, which allows us to kind of be on our own trip.
To do what you wanted to.
And I was in charge, so we closed the bar down every night.
I do remember.
We were just listening to the music.
Sure.
That's right.
Well, I do remember being like in the kids club a lot, like going in the kids, like with the kids, because our moms were sick. What made them think that they could handle a cruise?
Oh, the patches.
The patches.
They had the patches, and so they thought they'd be good. And also, our daddy wanted us to go on a cruise so bad, Amanda. And I can remember him telling Mom, "It's a big ship. You'll never feel it rocking."
He had never been on that ship.
That's right. And so, Tracy, as we're getting on the trip, there's a whole filming crew. And I'm determined that there is a star on the cruise ship because I used to always, and actually still kind of do, think that I see stars when I travel. I'm a little starstruck. Tell me what you remember about the trip. We're going to let you say it in your own words.
That's what you said.
Desi Arnaz Jr. Yep, that's what I said.
Jr. Yeah.
And then anything else you want to share about that trip? Because I'm just gonna let you share or not share.
Well, why don't we just keep talking?
We'll just say this: that Desi Arnaz Jr. character wasn't Desi Arnaz, but did take a liking to my beautiful cousin Tracy, and it ended up being he was maybe a little bit cray-cray. How about if we say that?
Yeah.
That works.
Nice on the cruise.
Wait, what now?
He was super nice on the cruise.
He was super nice on the cruise. And then when
later we found out, I think he was either engaged or married.
That's right. And he was actively pursuing you, asking you to dance with him and stuff. And so,
yeah, One in a Million song came on, and he asked me to dance, and I was just in love.
yeah, he was a good looking guy.
Y'all did not hesitate to meet a boy on a trip. Between all your stories, Missy, and your shenanigans, I've never heard anything like it. It's a wonder.
Well, I think we were too young to know, but how? Were there any like love interests that you found on the Love Boat?
Oh, I'm sure there were, Missy.
But
He
he kept it a secret from us.
I know we danced all night, and I'm sure it was some beautiful woman.
I'm sure it was. I will say that I remember coming back and something coming up about us staying out till 4 a.m. And we really were just having fun and dancing. And my daddy flipped his lid that his 13, turned 14-year-old daughter on that cruise ship stayed out that late. But
did you really stay out till 4 a.m.?
Yeah, I was hanging with my cousins, the big cousins. No, I was totally hanging out with them.
And I was a fantastic example. I was a great, I was doing everything right.
Absolutely.
There wasn't anything bad going on. It
really wasn't. Nothing bad.
You couldn't go anywhere. I mean, that's
right.
Hilarious.
It was so fun. So many good memories.
Where did we dock? Like, where did that cruise go? Was it the Caribbean?
Mm-hmm.
We left out of Miami and we went to the Virgin Islands and we went to Puerto Rico. And I don't know if y'all remember this when we were in Puerto Rico. Yes. I decided I was going to find us a great restaurant.
Yes, I do.
I asked the cab driver where to take us. And he took us to this gosh awful restaurant. It cost $4,000 or whatever, some exorbitant amount of money. And I'll never forget your mom and my mom saying, son, don't ask the cab driver where to go. Well, that'd be the best restaurant.
Hal, I remember something about that. Like, wasn't it like a casino or something in the back too? Like a little bit shady, and that's why the money was so expensive?
It wasn't a casino, but it was definitely down a shady road. I mean, it was like, I don't know where we were. Somewhere we would not go back today.
No, that's right. That was funny. And one thing I did just have a memory of, and I think this happened on the same night. If you remember, because we were hanging out with the movie crew a lot, or the filming crew for 2020, it was the magazine, PM magazine. Yes, it's like 2020 kind of. They do expose stories. We actually sat at the captain's table one night. Do y'all remember that?
I do remember.
Yes, and it was like the Love Boat, and the captain was at the end of the table, and we got to sit at this long table with the crew from PM magazine, and that is the night that they brought out my birthday cake that said, "Happy 14th birthday," and I had been telling everyone I was 18.
Oh my word.
Yes. And
this cake.
Yeah. And one other thing is we did go to the casino some on the boat.
Oh, yeah.
And I won $65 playing blackjack. And so I could hardly wait until I got old enough to really go to a casino, because I thought, if I won $65 when I was 13 years old, I am going to rake in some money. I must be a blackjack wizard. I lost $100 in the first 5 minutes, and I've never had a hankering to go and gamble again.
I'm with you, Missy. I'm with you.
I do not want to gamble away my money. Okay. Let's move to the Virgin Islands. That was the last one that I really remember us going on. We stayed at a beautiful resort, the Frenchman's Reef. I mean, we could always depend on Hal to set us up.
St. Thomas?
Yes, it was
St. Thomas.
Some big high cliff.
Yes.
I don't remember that.
You don't remember this?
But I do. Was this the trip? Because I do remember one of the trips where we got stuck in that scary airport. Do you know what I'm talking about?
It was. I think we had to fly in.
It was in Puerto Rico when we were going from Puerto Rico to.
Right. When you said Puerto Rico about the cruise, it made me think of it. But I was like, well, I think we were at an airport.
Yes. And it was an airport that was really just kind of like a hangar.
And this
guy
scary.
Had this big, long stick, and he was walking around talking crazy.
It was
You
scary.
remember they didn't put our baggage in the plane. They had a net underneath the plane, and they put our luggage in. It was like a little island hopper, just a little very small. But we were the only ones on the plane.
Yeah, no, I forgot about that. That's crazy. So the main thing I remember about the Virgin Islands is we opened up the menu and a hot dog was like $16. And I
So
remember our
expensive.
moms looking at it and freaking out that a hot dog was $16. And other than that and being up on the cliff, I don't remember a whole. Oh, I do. The Jeep. Remember, we went on a Jeep tour and there was a wreck. Somebody had a wreck in the Jeep.
Not our Jeep, but the Jeep.
Not our Jeep. Yes. Yes.
I remember we took the ferry over to St. John.
Yes. That's where it was. That's where the.
And bought our watches.
Yes.
We got all those coupons.
Yes.
That's
All
right.
the jewelry stores, and it was crazy.
Yeah. Do y'all have any memories of that? I know Amanda said she didn't.
I don't really remember going to the Virgin Islands.
Virgin Islands.
I don't remember much about the Virgin.
Yeah, I don't either, but it's.
It was beautiful and fun.
I do remember there was a nice Italian restaurant on the beach. You had to walk all the way down the cliff from the Frenchman's Reef to the Italian restaurant. That was really the only beach that was at our hotel. We had to go to other beaches. It was a very small beach at our hotel. Of course, all the water was beautiful there.
Yeah, it was. And it was a long walk.
I do remember. Well, there are a couple of things. I think I have memories, but in my mind, I'm like, can't remember which place is which. I do remember like you getting your ring, Missy, but like in Hawaii, but I feel like that was kind of a theme. Like I feel like we always got some kind of little jewelry. I remember walking through jewelry stores with Mom and her being like, let's pick you out a little ring, something special. And then the other thing that I am thinking about, which is funny about them going on the cruise, knowing they get seasick, like, I don't know about y'all's mom, but our mom just did not even like the beach. So
I know
mine didn't either.
She broke it on.
Yes, my mom she has a son. She's allergic to the sun, so she
So is Lottie. Yeah. So is
like,
Mom.
what were we?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess maybe I don't really remember going out on the beach, but maybe that's because she didn't take me out on the beach.
Well, and you were so fair complected as well.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I can say is they did it for us. They wanted us to have those experiences. And as bad as we wanted our dads to go, summertime was the time you went on vacations, and they sacrificed going with us for building the business so that we could do things like that. And I just want to say, gosh, thanks for those memories. Like those are treasured memories, aren't they?
They were good to us. Yes.
Our dads were so good to us, and our moms put up with us on the trips.
That's exactly right. And I will also say that you two have been very intentional. Amanda, you and I need to do better, but you two have been very intentional about continuing that tradition. Y'all continue to go on vacation with each other and your kids, and it's beautiful to watch y'all making memories doing that as well. The only thing is you haven't invited us to come along. So.
Yeah.
We're afraid you'll sing too much, Missy.
You should just let my
sleep on the dining room table.
Just take my kids, because they could just babysit for y'all.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
We could all go. That would be like a huge bucket list thing for me. If the four of us, could go somewhere with all our kids, that would be a beautiful moment. That would be
Let's make that happen.
Let's do it. Well, we cannot thank you two enough for joining us on our podcast. We will let you know when it launches, and you can listen to it and share it with your family. And we know you were hesitant because you didn't know what to expect, but did you have fun?
It was great.
It was great.
This is what we do. This is what we do.
Y'all.
I'm so proud of y'all too. Both of y'all are just amazing.
Well, we think the same of you guys. And we did try to get Hal on our Urban Cowboy episode because he has been to Gillies, but he declined. But maybe the next time we ask you, since you see how easy it is, y'all will join us for another one. We'd love that.
Right. Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Thank y'all so much. We love y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
That was so fun talking with them, wasn't it?
I know, walking down memory lane.
Walking down memory lane.
And I hope that it also, like, as for our listeners, spurred some of your own memories from your 80s vacations and thinking about those vacations growing up.
Yes. All right, y'all. It's time to buckle up as we begin our journey, our road trip into National Lampoon's Vacation.
All right, so we start off at the very beginning, and we've got Clark and Rusty going to the car dealership to pick up the new sports wagon for this big road trip. But instead, Clark basically gets scammed into buying this station wagon. It's the Wagon Queen family truckster after their old car is already being crushed. She's like, wait, I'll just take my old car. And he was like, too bad, because the old one's already being crushed. And this thing is a sight to see. Like, it's avocado. It's green, isn't it?
It's
like
green and brown. And
oh, it's bad.
And I will tell you that the station wagon that we were just talking about with Tracy and Hal, it might have had a little bit of that wood grain on it, but when you saw it, you thought like the color of butter. Like it was a light yellow colored,
like a buttery
truckster.
Yellow.
Yeah, a butter yellow.
Real quick though, question about here. And it doesn't matter. I just thought I was thinking about it as I was watching. Like when they went to go get the new car, it definitely didn't feel like a new car lot.
No, I think it was a used car. And I'll tell you, back in that time, it seems like the people in our circle, at least for the most part, that's kind of what you got, was like a used car. Like,
yeah,
that was just kind of the norm. Whereas I think the norm now, like, especially maybe for adults, maybe you look at more of a used car for like your kids. It seems like that.
You go to like the car place.
Yeah, you go to the car place. Of course, they've got great used cars and program cars, et cetera. But Ellen certainly didn't think great thoughts about this when Clark drove up with it. She's horrified. It's like rattling around. And Ellen says, look, let's just fly to California. She's just like begging.
Let's take a plane.
Take a plane. But Clark, he's that all-American dad. He insists on driving to bond with the family on this cross-country trip that he's planned for them. And I love it when he's talking to the kids about it. And he's like, all right, kids, let's take a look at our itinerary. And it's like an Atari game.
Yes.
And they are like tracking themselves almost like Mrs. Patman going across the country.
Yeah, and he's like, Rusty, don't eat the wagon.
Yeah.
I was like, they are really tech savvy at that house.
Oh, at that time, like if you saw that movie and you saw them being able to plug in their road trip to Atari type game,
you were like, wait, can we do that?
Yeah. Can we plan our vacation like that?
And I'm going to say that was probably a big fat no.
Yeah. I don't think it was something that you bought. I think it was a play for the movie.
Me too. Well, they pack up the car, but of course, right away, there's trouble because all their luggage falls off the roof when they back out of the garage.
They're so funny.
So they're already off to a bad start.
Of course, they're already off, Amanda, with, what do you know? Some singing. Clark and Ellen are in the front. They are singing. I know you love Ellen singing.
It's hysterical.
And Rusty and Audrey are completely zoned out. They're in their back seat. They're listening to their Walkmans. But there is nothing like a Griswold driving scene.
It's hilarious.
What were you telling me the other day after you did a rewatch about Ellen singing? I think you said it in Christmas Vacation too.
I just love, she's so she's like such a serious singer in the in those moments. And I don't even remember what the songs were, but like, let's just say she was singing 99 bottles of beer. I mean, it's like 99 bottles of beer on the wall. Like, she's just like so, like, you would think she's
Everything is so serious.
Oh, she is like serious singing. And she's so, I guess she's so into it. And like her face is into it. And it's just really, 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 really funny.
That's funny. I was thinking about what kids today would be doing in the back seat. They were sleeping and they had their Walkmans. And, I think we are so quick in these days to judge kids for their screen time and all that. And there's definitely rightful arguments with that. They might not have been looking at anything, but they were still zoned out in the world of music. They were in their own world within their Walkman.
Exactly. Doing something for themselves. Well, they stopped to get gas, and Clark, of course, he has no idea what's going on with this new station wagon. He can't find the gas tank.
Oh, yes.
And he ends up tearing off the license plate. And it's so funny because she's like, Clark, what's going on out there? And he's like, oh, just checking the license plate or something.
Yeah. But that was a thing. I mean, at one time you lifted up your license plate and that's where your gas was. And then they started putting it on the side. And now you look at your gas gauge and it has a little arrow of which side it's on. And I still sometimes pull on the wrong side of the car. I do. But now my car, and I know you recently have gotten a new car. Does your car have something where you have to unscrew it for gas, or does it just open up and it goes right in?
I don't know. I haven't gotten gas yet.
Well, mine, there's nothing to unscrew, which I love because I don't like touching that. And then I have left before I've been known to leave.
Without putting the cap on.
Yeah, I surely did. So the family gasses up. They continue and they get to St. Louis, which is going to be,
oh my gosh,
right?
One of my favorite parts.
They're trying to get through St. Louis, and Clark gets lost, and there's no Waze, and there's no Siri, and there's no GPS, right, or MapQuest, and he thinks he knows the way. He's navigating, and he gets to a rough neighborhood. And of course, you would never in a rough neighborhood roll down your windows and say, hey, can you give me directions? But he does. And so they swindle him. He is so
gullible.
So gullible, yes. And so they steal their hubcaps, and I mean, the car is just completely vandalized. They did spray paint on it and all kinds of stuff.
Didn't even tell them how to get out of there. Right. They took the money and still they didn't know how to get out. It was so funny. So funny. So it's getting later at night. I mean, even when they're in the rough neighborhood, it was already dark.
Yes.
So we're watching, they're driving. Of course, it's night. We're to assume it's getting late.
Yeah, and he's fine. He's got this.
Totally.
He could drive for many more hours.
Yeah, and Ellen's, yawning and falling asleep. The kids are asleep in the back. She's like, Clark, why don't we go ahead and stop or whatever? He's like, I'm fine. Well, everyone else is asleep, and he eventually does fall asleep at the wheel, and the car veers off the road and crashing through yards before finally stops right at the motel. And he's just like, oh, we're here.
So funny. He plays that off so well.
It's just like the Christmas Vacation with the Christmas tree.
That's exactly right. And one of the kind of fascinating facts I read is that many of Chevy Chase's lines were improvised, which was a newer thing at the time, and it really contributed to the film's humor. He would crack other people up on the set.
Oh, I'm sure.
And somewhere in the scene are some improvised lines. It may have been in the car, but it may have been at the hotel when they get settled. They get the kids in an adjoining room, and Ellen and Clark are in the hotel, which is a we would look at it now and think you would never stay at that
I know.
hotel. But
That's
we
the
did.
thing.
But we used to, like, I mean, I know it really seems like a dump, but it was nothing at the time to just pull into like a locally owned
Motel.
motel and pull in and get your key and go in and
I was
you know,
thinking that's
sleep.
so funny because I was thinking that when I was watching, they just will stop anywhere.
Yeah. Yes. I saw a meme not too long ago on Insta, and it was something about when you allow your friend to make reservations and you go into your hotel room and it's got a printed bedspread, like that's bad news. And they sure enough had printed
Oh, yeah.
bedspreads in
Oh,
there.
yeah.
But they also have some new technology in this hotel room, which Clark and Ellen were going to try out the old vibrating mattress, which I so clearly remember these being in hotel rooms.
I do not at all.
You would have been too young, but you literally would put in like a quarter or 50 cents and it would like kind of like massage chairs today, right?
So
if you're at the
weird.
mall and you want to go sit and have a little massage, well,
There you go.
at the hotels, at the motels, you put in your quarter and you could get a little massage. But in this case, it went haywire and crazy. So they pull that nasty bedspread to the nasty floor.
Oh,
They're like, we'll just move down here. It's fine. And of course, the kids walk in on them, and it's, you know, the classic vacation antics where, you know, he's like, kids, and he lifts his finger up, you know, we're having
her
some
bras
alone
on his
time.
finger.
Yeah, I think it's his
Or her
panties.
panties. Yeah.
It's so funny.
And they're so grossed out.
I know it. They're just like cheesed out by their parents.
Yeah.
Do you have any memories of ever walking in on something like that and being cheesed out? Or did you have with your kids ever walking in and being like,
no.
yeah,
Neither way.
I don't either.
But I know people do. Real fans, share your story.
Share your stories with us. That is so funny.
But no, yeah, I don't. Thank goodness. So that was their first big day. So the next day, they are continuing on, and they are headed to Dodge City. And this is where Clark insults the bartender and gets like fake shot in basically the tourist trap. Like they drive into the little town and it's all dusty. You know what it reminded me of?
If New Mexico?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well,
What were you
that
gonna
too.
say?
That
what
too.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say when the Brady Bunch went to the ghost town.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Which reminds me of
New Mexico.
We went to New Mexico to Aunt Betty Ray's because I wanted to go to a ghost town because of the Brady.
The Brady Bunch.
Yes.
Well, they pull up and it's like dirt, you know, dusty dirt roads. And it looks like sort of like that old Western ghost town look. And Ellen's immediately like, this is kind of touristy, Clark. Like, you know, no, kids, we're gonna.
Well,
anyway.
what's funny is I don't think it was a fake shot. I mean, I think it did shoot a bullet, but
yes,
right, like because the bartender was totally aggravated at Clark and his antics.
Yes, totally.
Well, that's when they get back on the road and Clark's driving, the family's, I think, resting or in their own little world, and Clark spots a beautiful woman in a red Ferrari on the road, and he is distracted. And this is Christy Brinkley in her film debut in the role of the girl in the red Ferrari. And of course, you know Christy Brinkley. She was married to Billy Joel. She's a supermodel, decades and decades and decades of a supermodel, and still gorgeous.
Gorgeous. Yes, she's still gorgeous.
Still gorgeous.
When I think of her, and she may not have even been in this commercial, but I think of like a Maybelline commercial or something where she's like coming out of the water and she's like but her makeup's still perfect.
Yeah. Well, we
yeah,
see glimpses of that
we
later
do
on in the movie. Yep.
we do. So I feel like every time we talk about a different part, I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this part so much, but I really love this part. They, on their journey, they are going to stop and visit with Ellen's cousin,
Catherine and Eddie.
Catherine and Uncle Eddie, and they're stopping in Kansas, and they live in a very, very rural area. And this is also where they've got, their younger cousins. We don't see Ruby Sue in this, but we do. This is where Jane Krasowski is as one of the cousins.
Yeah.
And anyway, so they ask them, Catherine and Eddie, ask them if they will take Aunt Edna and her dog, Dinky, and drop her off in Phoenix on their way to Wally World.
There's so many funny things as they are there. One of the things is while they're on the farm, Eddie asks Clark if he can borrow some money. And Clark is like pulling out his wallet and thinking he's going to ask for, like $30 or $100 or something. And what was it, like a $15,000 loan or something?
Yes.
So, everything.
It was like to save the farm or something.
Yeah,
like
just something crazy. And then while all this is going on, the kids are bonding with crazy cousin shenanigans. Like one is like talking about the secret stash of marijuana, the other one's showing nudie magazines, the other one's talking about that she's such a great kisser and her daddy told her that she was the best. Like it's all so horrifyingly hysterical.
And one of the things that always cracks me up is it's when Ellen and Catherine are in the kitchen making dinner or something, and Catherine's talking because she's pregnant.
Yes.
And
again, I guess that's Ruby Sue.
Maybe that's Ruby Sue. And she says something like, well, Eddie says I can quit one of my night jobs when the baby comes.
Yes.
Lord bless her.
But it's so funny because, and we've all had situations like this with somebody, like not wanting them to know that somebody else is there or going to be there, whether it's our spouse or our mom or our sister or our friend. And so Catherine does not want Clark to know that Aunt Edna's there. And so when it comes up at the picnic, which by the way, they have hamburger helper on their buns, not just hamburgers, that you can see like, Ellen is horrified.
Ellen, yeah.
Yes, Ellen is horrified whenever it's mentioned that Aunt Edna's there, and Clark is just dumbfounded.
Yep, he cannot get over it. But they do agree, begrudgingly, to take Aunt Edna and Dinky with them.
They're gonna meet Aunt Edna's family somewhere, right?
Yes. And so they do take her, but this is hysterical. When they're getting in the car to leave, because you talked about the marijuana stash, the cousin gives what's the daughter's name? It just
Audrey.
went blank. Audrey, see, now I'm going blank. Gives Audrey a little stash to take on the road because that'll come back again later.
Yes. So they're on the road, but they are going to stop and have a little picnic, which, by the way, we used to do that as well. You would pack up sandwiches, and because there weren't fast food places everywhere. Now, in the 80s, there probably was, but like when I was young, like younger than the 80s, so like let's say 78, when I was 10, you stopped at a roadside park and had a sandwich. And
So you did you didn't just eat in the car. You would stop.
no, you could eat in the car, and you did sometimes. But I will tell you, a few years ago when we went to Gatlinburg for Thanksgiving with the whole big, huge Vance family, had what were there, 30 bedrooms almost, it seemed like, in that cabin. But I rode with Mama and Papa so that I could get there. I didn't wait on Chris because he couldn't get away from work. And so I went on with them to help get everything set up. Sure enough, guess what? They packed a sandwich for the ride, and I really loved it.
Well, did y'all stop or did you?
I don't think we did. I think we just ate and kept going. But the last time Chris and I had a little getaway, because he's been watching what he eats for health reasons, I was like, let's just take something. And so we took a delicious chicken salad sandwich and some little vegetable
It is good because then
bites.
you don't feel all gross and
Yes,
whatever when
because
you're riding in the
sometimes
car.
when you're doing that and you've got French fries and burgers or you've got chicken nuggets, you do feel kind of gross in the car. So,
Yeah.
all right. But we have to talk about what happens at their picnic.
Yes.
Couple of things. So you want to talk about something?
Well, one thing is everybody's kind of perplexed about why the food's wet. And Ellen realizes that the dog peed on the picnic basket.
Yes,
and horrifying. Aunt Edna doesn't care. She just
doesn't care. She keeps
on eating her sandwich.
I'll just keep eating my sandwich. And the whole time, Clark's over there kind of dancing with his sandwich because who has he found over by a big 18-wheeler? He's gotten back up with Christy Brinkley, the girl in the red Ferrari, and he's kind of dancing and showing his sandwich. And right as he takes a bite is when Ellen lets them know the dog had peed, so he spits it out. And it's
also like he's doing this come hither dance with this sandwich.
With the sandwich. That's what I'm saying. It's so like this
funny.
Provocative dance with the sandwich. It's so funny. All right, so they get back on the road after they've had their sandwiches, and now they are in South Fork, Colorado, and they're going to spend the night in a campground. This is where see Brian Dole Murphy. He's the redneck with the hat that's spitting seeds out while he talks to him, and he's going to hook them up with a tent for the night. And it was, well, I think it was $35. So they were getting 3 of them, which that would have been a lot of money back in the day. And Clark says, well, that seems kind of expensive. He said, oh, it's a great tent. Wildlife views. They go to get in the tent, and he opens one, and it smells. He's like, Edna, this one's yours.
Yeah, because it's Ellen. She's like, oh, this tent smells funny. And he's like, Edna. And it's also, even when they're walking up to the tent, Ellen's like, oh, you can't spring for a hotel room, huh?
And then what about the kids in the pool that was there?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, because Ellen was like, oh, it'll be great. They've even got a pool. And it was disgusting.
It was disgusting. So they spend the night, and the next day is one of my favorite scenes, Amanda. I just have to say before you get into it that it's another one that's horrifically hilarious.
Yeah, no animals were hurt in the making of this movie. We'll go ahead and just say that.
That's right.
Well, he's packing up the car, and they're all loading up. And of course, he has Dinky tied to the back because, they're getting ready to go.
And let's just say it. Dinky is not a well-behaved dog.
Dinky is not nice, right? No. He's biting, he's growling, he's peeing on the picnic basket. And he gets in the car, leaves, heads out until he gets stopped by a motorcycle cop. And Clark's like, I wasn't speeding, sir. Like, why are you stopping me? And all of a sudden, the cop hands him the leash that is just a leash. He was like,
he asked him to get out first.
Yes,
like,
that's
get
right.
Out.
You're right.
So he gets out.
That's right.
and
he
goes
sees,
to
he
the back and
shows
he
it to him.
sees the leash that
Mhm.
is empty.
That's right. I was thinking
and
you're right.
connected to the car, right?
Mhm.
And so
And he has to just be like, "Oh my gosh, you could never think that I would harm an animal on purpose." And they have this whole big, conversation.
and they were pretending like they were crying because they were laughing so hard. So that was a fascinating fact that I learned, is that scene, they could
got so
hardly
tickled.
get through it because they were cracking up so much. And let me tell you, I have had times in my life,
Yes, you
and
have.
with cousin Tracy, by the way, where
Yep.
things happened where it was inappropriate to laugh. And so we were laughing with our heads down as if we were crying. Not
And
proud of it.
I've been there to witness it.
Yes. Well,
I've been
and
there to
then
witness it.
then that's when he brings
That you're right. Because he doesn't want Edna to know.
right.
And so, but then when the cop brings the leash, then
Mhm.
obviously Edna knows that Dinky is not with us anymore.
Yes, and she's petrified. Petrified. That is one of my favorite scenes. I mean, I really do remember. I don't remember where I was, but I remember the first time I saw it. It was the kind of laughter where
You like
wet your
fold
pant
over.
laughter.
Yeah.
Like
you fold
so
over.
hysterical. Like you can't even believe it's on the screen. It's so funny.
Yeah, it's hilarious. It's hilarious.
Well, they mosey on down the road. Clark races the red Ferrari again, nearly causing an accident because he's flirting with the girl in the red Ferrari. And he, bounces around, loses a suitcase, and guess what's in it? Ellen's credit cards. But one thing that was so funny that it made me think of, and I don't know if you'll remember this, back in the day, there was an Amex commercial, and it was like, Amex, don't leave home without it.
Oh, yeah.
The big deal was you could call Amex if you lost your card, and they would take care of you. I mean, now all credit card companies do that, but it was a big deal then, like if you lost your card.
Well, it's funny that you brought that up, because one of the things I noticed in the movie, which I think is such an 80s thing, is they were talking about, like, payment came up a lot. Like, are you going to have enough cash? Can we get a check cashed? Can you cash a check for this much? Like, there was a lot of that happening in the movie. And do you remember back in the day what we would take on trips to pay with?
Cash?
Traveler's checks.
Oh, traveler's checks. Yes. Well, that is how the Amex commercials got started, because they were the first to issue traveler's checks.
I mean, I remember going on vacations and having traveler's checks.
Mom would have to go to the bank and she would have to get the
traveler's checks.
And you have to sign them there in front of the bank in one place. And then you would have to sign it and show your ID if you used it somewhere.
Yep. And like my kids right now, would have no idea what I'm talking about. A traveler's check. I have no idea.
So funny.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Well, they get lost on a back road and crash the car, and they end up stranded in the desert near Monument Valley. Now, like, desert, like they are this again reminds me of like the Brady's Grand Canyon adventure.
Yes, me too.
Because Clark, I mean, they're stuck. They can't get out of the sand. And so he's decided he's going to go ahead and he is going to go find gas, or a gas station. And so they're all like, well, you can't just leave us here. And he's like, yes, I got to go. So he wanders through the desert, and it is a whole thing. Like, he's becoming completely disoriented. And it's hysterical. He's got like his shirt wrapped around his head.
Every time they show him, it's like a progression.
Yeah, it's like more and more. He's like talking nonsense. It's like he's totally in like a desert in a foreign land. It's hysterical.
But before he left, remember he had a talk with Rusty about leaving.
Oh, that's right, about being, yes.
Yes, that was so funny. He lets Rusty have a beer.
He lets him have a beer. He's like,
talking.
I'm going to share a beer with you, son.
Yes, it's going to be a special moment. So when he finally gets through his walk in the desert, he makes it to, he sees a little, I mean, I want to call it a corner store, but it's not a corner store. It was way before corner stores. What would you call that, sister?
Like a curb store?
Yeah, but it's not. Where the car was and where he saw Ellen. I mean, we would call it a curb store now, but I don't know what you'd call it because it wasn't any city or really much road by it.
It was just like out in the middle of nowhere.
Right, out in the middle of nowhere. A country store, I guess is what you could say. A country store with a mechanic's
a car shop,
bay
a mechanic, yeah.
And so as he gets up there, he's like, oh, and he's just like thirsting to death. And he sees Ellen. He's like, Ellen, and you would think that he was on death's door, which I guess you would feel that way. Anyway, he's so glad someone had gotten them to the mechanic, and the mechanic has fixed his car.
Right, because they had already been rescued.
Right.
Like, it wasn't a delusion. Like, it really was.
Yeah.
Her.
And so it's so funny. He asked the mechanic, who is, I'm just going to say it, country as cow shit. Like, come on.
He is.
They are like, right?
Yeah.
And so he's like, how much do I owe you, gentlemen? They're like, how much you got? And so they end up scamming him out of like $500 for something. Of course. Again, more about payment, right? And it's so funny because Clark is like, I'm going to call the sheriff. And he pulls out his badge because he is the sheriff of this little town.
Yeah. And Ellen had been starting to worry about the money because that was like another conversation about it. And that's when it came up about like, well, the hotel can cash a check and all that.
Yes.
So the family does arrive at the Grand Canyon, speaking of the Brady Bunch Grand Canyon episode. But like what we're talking about, he couldn't pay for the rooms because he's really spending all his cash. And remember, Ellen lost her credit cards from when the suitcase flew off, and they'd called and canceled those.
Yep.
So they're frozen or whatever. And so they couldn't put the room on the credit cards either.
Right. So Clark is just like, well, we'll go on in. So he's going to write the hotel a check. And they're like, we're sorry, sir. We don't take checks. And he's like, I tell you what, I'm going to write this check for, and it was like, $100 more than the bill. And you can just take it and then you can have what's left over. And the guy like turns him down. And when he turns around, Clark steals cash from the cash register, throws the check in there, and they hightail it out of Dodge.
It was so funny. I love moments like that where the character, and he's so good at it too, is like, I'm going to schmooze you with my big $100 or like whatever. And the people are like, it doesn't matter. I'm still not doing it.
Right.
It always cracks me up. But yes, they head on out of there, continuing through Arizona. And oh my gosh, they think Aunt Edna's asleep and she's actually dead.
Yes.
And they
all had the hibby-jibbies.
They like get out of the car screaming.
Yes.
They're just like, oh my gosh. And the kids are like, she's a dead person. This was one of the funniest lines to me. A dead person was breathing on me.
Yes, I know.
They were so grossed out. And they are really trying to figure out what to do with her. And of course, Ellen is like, we've got to do the right thing. And and Clark is like, we got to get to Wally World.
Yeah.
And
he's got a plan. He's got an agenda.
And the kids do not want to lose days at Wally World. So they kind of are like, yeah, Mom, it's fine. She's dead. No big deal. And so Clark's like, let's just put her on top of the car.
Yeah, because Audrey's like, we're going to have to ride the whole way to Phoenix with a dead body in the car.
So they do put her on top of the car, and it looks like she's like sitting in a rocking chair. She has like a blanket over her.
Reminded me of Granny Clampett.
Yes, absolutely. And they drive to Normie's house in Phoenix, which is where, they were supposed to get her to, and he was gone. So they just leave her body on the porch, and they do have like a little funeral sort of for her.
They do pay some respect.
They pay their respects.
The best that they can. That, again, was up there with the dog scene to me.
I know.
It was one of the craziest things I'd ever seen on the big screen, and I laughed so hard. So hard. Well, when they leave, it's late again. It's nighttime. And so they get a motel, and Clark has a near miss fling, so to speak, with the woman in the red Ferrari by the pool because he and Ellen had an argument. And can you imagine this trip? Of course, they're having arguments. It's
rough.
Each other's nerves. And so Clark leaves and goes out. Next thing we know, he's screams when he gets in the pool, and everybody from the hotel comes out, and he is in the water with Miss Red Ferrari. And it's just a chaotic moment.
It is. The kids are so. Oh, Audrey comes out. This is because remember I told you that she had the little marijuana bag from the cousin.
Yes.
She comes out and she's wearing like dark sunglasses, and she's like, you can tell she's had a little.
Do you know what? That went over my head.
It was from the marijuana bag. It was funny. And she's like too cool for school, but I always think in this scene, when Ellen walks out on the balcony and she's wearing that little pink polo in her hair, she looks so, every time I watch it, I'm like, she looks so pretty in that scene to me.
She does look pretty in that scene. And so he's caught.
Yes.
Right. She catches him and he apologizes. And then what happens?
They end up getting in the pool together. And the kids
are dipping.
Yes. And the kids are mortified, of course.
And when she jumps in, you see why it's rated R. I mean, it's total boobage hopping in.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's nudity for sure.
Okay, here's your question. Have you ever skinny dipped?
Oh, I think I have.
Yeah,
I couldn't really remember because it's not like as great as it looks in the movies.
It looks like it would just be this experience.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You dive in the water.
Yeah.
We did it when we were kids in the backyard pool. It would be like, y'all want to go skinny dipping? We would go skinny, cousins or girlfriends. I mean, always just with girls.
Yeah.
We just thought it was we were being so rebellious, so wild
crazy
to go skinny dipping. Yes.
Yeah. It's really not, guys. It's really, really not that crazy.
That's right. And I wouldn't get in water that I couldn't see the bottom of at night to go skinny dipping. That's where they really make it look good, like in a lake or in the ocean.
Yeah.
No way.
No way.
Talk about Jaws 3D.
I was about to say, that's a horror movie.
Yes, you're exactly right.
All right. So the next day, we finally are arriving at Wally World. And they're driving up to the park. And I've thought about this several times because as they're driving up, there is not a car in sight. And so I'm thinking if that were, normal people, they would be thinking, why are there no cars? But I think they are so out of their mind from this trip that they're just have their sights set on getting into Wally World. But they do go up to the gates.
But let me just say this one thing about the big parking lot, because they do mention it. Why are we parking so far out? And he's like, that way we can get out at the end of the day because of the.
That's right.
I swear that sounds like something Chris Washam would say. I was like, why don't you just park down the street? Because you're I say that in being facetious.
Yes.
Because I'm like, I would have made a couple of loops and found a closer parking place, honey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
for sure. Well, you're right. That's funny. But they do, once they park and walk up, they realize, sorry, folks, park's closed. And it is
the great John Candy too, by the way.
Oh my gosh. It is devastating. They are devastated, as they should be. But this made me also think of something really funny from that time period. it stands to be, that could happen at that time period. Now, if we would know. Like,
you check the website.
Yeah, I mean, it would be so. But then, if you just are getting in your car and driving across the country, you just assume it's open. Like, that is an actual thing that could have happened.
Absolutely, it is.
So bizarre. So bizarre.
Well, the whole thing with John Candy is so funny, and he's like being the big security guard, and Clark buys like a BB gun looking pistol type thing,
like toy gun.
Yeah, and he holds it up to the security guard, and he forces him to take them through the park, and the shenanigans are just hysterical.
Yeah, it is hysterical. At one point, the kids are saying something, and Ellen's like, just go along with it. This might be the last time we see your father for a very long time. Like, she knows. She's like, he's going away.
She knows he's in trouble. And this part reminded me of the craziness in Christmas Vacation, where they get the boss and bring him over, and SWAT team comes and all of that, because the LAPD SWAT team comes, and the boss of the park, Roy Wally, which there's a play on words there. We've got Wally World. We've got Roy Wally, which we all know that Roy Disney
was
and
a
Walt
brother
that's
of
right.
Walt, right?
Yeah, it was just hysterical. So anyway, they all come in, and just like it was mirrored later in Christmas Vacation, Clark's does this speech about the American dream, and it touches Roy's heart. He realizes what all this family's been through, and so he lets them enjoy the park. So they're getting their vacation. It's at the end. But Amanda, did you know there was an alternate ending?
I did. Yes, I did know. And let me tell you something really quick before we get into that. The guy who plays Roy, Wally, he looks like a Disney.
Yeah,
brother.
He looks like a
that's
Disney.
The other.
Yes.
Like, that's the other funny thing. It's really funny.
So
like
funny.
that whole thing was funny.
I just had an aha moment though. Brian Dole Murphy was the guy who worked at the campground, and he's his boss in Christmas Vacation.
Oh, is he?
Yes, that's his boss.
Oh my
I
gosh!
just had an aha right here recording a live podcast.
I wonder if any other real fans knew that. I definitely did not make that connection. Good connection.
So what was the alternate ending?
Okay. So the original ending involved Clark kidnapping Roy Wally, which kidnapping
Much
also
like,
makes
yep.
and forcing him to entertain his family. Test audiences didn't love it.
Didn't love it. Didn't like it.
It led to them doing some reshoots and bringing in the inclusion of John Candy's character. And that was a really good idea.
It was. John Candy was hysterical. And when they're in the park, the family rides roller coasters with the police and the SWAT team. But a fascinating fact, the cast did not have a pleasant experience doing all the roller coaster scenes. They were actually at Six Flags Magic Mountain, and they had to ride it repeatedly for multiple takes.
Oh no!
And there were a lot of people who got sick. They said it was a nightmare to film that ending part in the
I'm sure, because like when after you ride a really, really rough or big roller coaster,
which I don't do anymore.
I don't either, because it does make you when it's not just the moment of the ride where you're like, woo, but when you get off, you're not right.
And it definitely is worse the older you get. Like, I can remember doing roller coasters when I was younger, and you'd have that kind of woozy feeling for 20 or 30 minutes, and you moved on. It would no, it's not my cup of tea.
You're down for the day.
I'm down for the day. What is, when you think about your favorite ride at a an amusement park. Do you have a favorite ride?
I love all my favorite rides are going to probably come from Disney.
Mine too.
I do love Snow White's Mine Train just because I'm not like loving it for the exhilaration of it, right?
Right.
But if I were going to say one that I was like, this is that I haven't been in several years. So I know there's some newer roller coasters like Tron, but I would say Everest in Magic Kingdom.
I love Everest. Yes.
A roller coaster. And roller coasters the newer ones are a little bit better. I mean, you still get that gravitational feel, but they're not nearly as rough.
Yeah, I can ride Everest.
Mm-hmm. I feel like Everest is a really good roller coaster.
It is. I love Big Thunder Mountain, and it's no longer there. They've changed it, but I love
what you're about to say.
Yeah, Big Thunder Mountain is still there, and I know it's not like a roller coaster, although it has a drop. I loved Splash Mountain.
Well, Savannah went and she said it's still a really great ride. So,
oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. And in the end, in the end credits, we see the show photos of the sorry, not show photos. It shows us photos of the Griswolds at various stages, ending with them flying back to Chicago, leaving the old station wagon family truckster behind.
Yep. Yes, it's a great ending showing all of their memories like postcards. It was good. It's such a great movie, which I almost said at the very beginning, but I know we try to hold our comments about how it measures up. But sister, what do you think? Does it stand the test of time?
Definitely. Even though our family vacations probably look different now, and maybe, we don't always take the car trips across the country, but I think a lot of people still do that at some point, with their kids. It definitely looks a lot different, but most of us can relate, no matter what age we are, to that time of family vacation.
Yeah.
Whether it be riding or an RV or an airplane.
Yeah. And I think such
antics.
Incredible memories are made on vacations. And then obviously it stands the test of time because it's had sequels. It's had, what did they have? European Vacation, Christmas Vacation, that Vegas Vacation. And then in 2015, decades later, there was a reboot. And so they really they've submitted themselves a place in pop culture. I can't imagine that it
solidified, not submitted, solidified.
Oh, so yeah. Well, I love it. And at the beginning of the show, Amanda, I was going to say, I thought it was great, but I know we try to save that until the end of the episode. But what do you think? How does it measure up?
It definitely measures up. I think even though vacations might look a lot different today, we may not have everybody loading up in the station wagon. We still have, we've got our big Suburbans or whatever. We load up in, head to the beach, whatever. Even though the experience might be different, it's still an experience that I think we can all relate to, no matter what age you are, going on these family vacations, whether it's driving across the country in a big vehicle, going in an RV, or flying on an airplane.
Yeah, I agree.
We still, have that experience.
Yeah, and I think that the idea of a family vacation brings nostalgia out to people in such a way that everyone can relate to it. And obviously the film had success. It cemented its place in pop culture with, what was it? Christmas Vacation, European Vacation, Vegas Vacation. I think they had another one later on at Uncle Eddie's Christmas. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I definitely agree with you. I think it's great, and I think it stands the test of time. And I think it's safe to say that the Griswolds took us on a ride of nostalgia this week.
They definitely did. They definitely did. And next week, we're switching gears completely, although we are sticking with the family theme.
Yeah, and it may even have something to do with the journey too. Okay, real fans, it's time for clues. Let's see if you can guess what movie we're rewinding to next week.
All right, a story that takes us from scrubbing floors to penthouse living.
Clue number 2. It's about a powerful man with a soft spot he didn't even know he had.
Clue number 3, a revealed secret that unlocks the path to a forever family.
Think you got it? Don't forget to message us with your guess.
And if you're loving the show, make sure you subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, and send us a screenshot, real fans, to hello@realsistersrewind.com. We're sending out stickers to all our real fans who show us some love.
And we love our real fans too. Thanks for joining us today. Bye, sister.
Thank you. Bye.